There's been a lot of talk these days about mom butt, but I think we also need to start talking more about mom chest. You know, the rounded shoulders, forward head posture, and constant pain between the shoulder blades. They might also feel like they're stuck between upright posture with flared ribs or dropping their ribs down only to have their shoulders come with them. In today's video, we'll explore tips and tricks in a chest press to help you get the most out of the exercise to not only get you stronger, but also improve posture and decrease pain. When it comes to doing a chest press or any horizontal pushing, we're looking to work the pec major and the serratus through its full range. The problem is that sometimes people don't get enough of either of those muscles in the concentric portion, contributing to them overusing their pec minor that pulls the scapula up and over the rib cage and contributes to rounded shoulders. Another contributing factor to rounded shoulders is not getting enough eccentric lengthening to allow the shoulder blade to slide back. So let's take a look at a chest press to see how you can use different cues and props depending on your needs. First, what we're going to do is going to talk about the basic mechanics of a chest press. Then we'll talk about some variations to help you get more out of it. So first, when we go to do a chest press, we are thinking about this pure horizontal plane of motion. So when people go to do it, a lot of time they'll kind of have their arms higher up or tucked in down by their side. But I find that having their arms and elbows just slightly away from their body and their palms facing each other throughout the motion is going to help promote the most optimal scapular movement on the rib cage at that point in time. You can use some of those other variations for other kind of focus or emphasis, but right now we're looking for a balanced movement. The other thing you want to consider is the amount of weight that you're going to do. If you don't use enough weight, then you're going to end up pulling your arm back instead of getting the scapular retraction from eccentric lengthening of your pecs and your serratus. If you go too heavy, then your body's not going to be able to let go, and you might compensate by driving the movement from your humerus and elbow instead of getting that length from your chest. Remember, in the end, we want your scapula to be moving fully back on your rib cage and then round and forwards. We can think about how the front of your scapula is actually right here. And so thinking about the center of your chest and this point getting closer together and further away can oftentimes be really helpful for visualizing where the movement is coming from. Now, we're also considering movement in the serratus. So often I'll cue thinking about that armpit sliding back and around, and then the scapula pulling forwards and through can help get more of the action in the serratus. So we're going to do this chest press on the ground. The ground can be really helpful from a referencing standpoint to make sure that you're driving the movement from the scapula instead of from the rib cage and spine. Now that being said, sometimes the ground can kind of feel limiting for that scapular movement, so you'll just have to play around and see if this works for you. We're going to lay down here, and we're going to start in a position with both arms reaching up towards the ceiling. This reach and protraction is going to get the serratus. Then we also have to make sure that we're hugging our arms in towards the midline to get that horizontal adduction and pec major engagement. I like doing one arm at a time to help people get the relative movement in their scapula and help them not arch their back. So my left arm is going to stay steady as I slowly lower my right arm down to the ground, thinking about that chest wall opening in the back of my shoulder sliding towards the ground. And then I'm going to press up and through and hug towards the midline. Then I'm going to alternate the other side. Slowly coming down, that elbow's at 45 degrees away from my side. My palm is facing in. You can see how my forearm is vertical and pointed straight up towards the ceiling. And then I'm going to press and come up and through. Too often in this position, we can really see how when people go to lower down, they'll just kind of drop down or think about the elbow getting down to the ground. And you can see how this ends up creating space back here, indicating that they're not getting length in the front of their chest. So you're really wanting to think about, rather than the elbow coming to the ground, how can they feel this space closing off and getting this opening from the front side, feeling that broadening across their chest to get their arm down, only going as far as they can, that they are able to maintain it and not completely lose all tension, and then going and pressing up and hugging back in. With doing the alternating mechanics of one arm moving and one arm staying, it can be really helpful for helping with creating rib cage stability and serratus endurance on that reaching arm, while we're moving one arm down and back up, and then the other side. It can also be really helpful as a sneaky way of working on thoracic rotation by improving ribcage mobility and scapular mobility rather than allowing that thoracic spine to move. Lastly, it can be helpful to create an anti-rotation component in your abs. When it comes to reaching, we're making sure that we are thinking about reaching through this armpit and pinky rather than reaching from over the top of the shoulder or reaching so far that you feel your neck go into extension. When that neck goes into extension, we reach over the top of the shoulder. This is indicating that we're using more of upper traps and pec minor instead of that serratus. Now, to help set the serratus up for success, we need to make sure that we get that eccentric lengthening in both the serratus as well as the pecs to inhibit the serratus and improve the position of the scapula to then concentrically find that serratus to pull through. You might find for those individuals that have a lot of forward head posture that adding a small pillow underneath their head can really help them out for feeling more serratus rather than upper traps and pec minor. Speaking of pec minor, we really want to make sure at that top position that we're feeling that horizontal adduction and really feeling this muscle bulk of our pec major. Too often people don't actually get that full pec major squeeze and instead kind of hollow their chest out or don't ever hug in towards the midline. And that makes it not only limiting from actually strengthening your pec major, but doesn't give you as much support for the eccentric lowering. Sometimes it's just a matter of intention. Other times you can use a band to add a little bit more feedback for getting that movement. When we're using the band, I like using it one at a time. So this is attached directly to the side of me here. I'm going to isometrically hold one arm up as a counter rotation. So this left arm is going to reach up and through, and this right arm is going to reach up, and then I have enough tension that I can feel how I'm pulling in towards the midline against that band. Might scooch over just a little bit more. Then what's going to happen is now this is going to give me a little more feedback of what I'm having to control, making sure I'm keeping pec engagement while I'm lowering down instead of just dropping down through the movement, and then coming up and hugging in towards the midline. You can do reps on one side, and then you can switch and do reps on the other. The other thing that you can use the band for is we can use it for a little bit more core support and stability. So we can use this reach and hug in on one side while we then dynamically move through the other side. This can be great for those individuals that need their abs showing up a little bit more on one side and provide a little bit more stability than just the isometric hold of the press, because we're getting in a little bit of this kind of rotation and squeeze in to those ribs with that horizontal band. So you can see how you can customize it to the individual in front of you depending on their needs, using different props and variations and cueing to help them get the most out of their exercise. Did you find this video useful? Make sure to like, leave a comment, or subscribe to our channel. Do you have other questions about this movement or concepts? Make sure to leave them in the comments below as well. If you're a movement professional looking for even more understanding about the human body and movement, make sure to check out our continuing education offerings that we have in the description below. You can also check out our channel for other videos on this topic. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.